Are you ready? Are you ready for some role play?
Oh boy. Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
You get in. You're the staff member. I'm the guy coming in. Okay. All right.
Okay.
Hey man.
How's it going
What's
today?
going on?
Good.
I'm good. I want to start the hobby.
Yo, sure.
What do I need?
Well, I don't know. What do you like? What's your sci-fi guy?
I want to do Space Marines.
You want it perfect. Cool. Yeah. Well, let's look at some starter boxes.
All right.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's it.
And I know that sounds like really plain and vanilla, but I haven't had a conversation like that almost in 10 years. Like, you know what I mean? Like
yeah.
It's kind of crazy how many people have been coming in recently and wanting to start the hobby and haven't done pretty much any research and haven't like already been influenced by this influencer or this person's told them what to buy. They're coming in and actually like asking for help, and they want guidance, and it's kind of really nice and refreshing, I have to admit.
I think it's. I mean, I know Chris mentioned the 10 years thing. I think it's.
I'm probably exaggerating.
I think it's more the fact that it seems to be really concentrated in the last couple months. Like it seems to be. It's because we're not a Games Workshop. We tend to be the next. Like you might enter the hobby at a Games Workshop and then kind of come to our store because we're like maybe a little closer, or we have all of the hobby supplies that you see on the internet that you can't get at the GW.
Plus, yeah.
So then they end up wandering in here and being, oh, this is pretty cool. But to Chris's point, it's like that. This conversation is happening a lot lately, and it could be the Space Marine 2 effect. It could be.
I just can't remember. I was racking my brain yesterday because like it's literally been for the last 2 to 3 weeks specifically. Every day there's like at least one person, and sometimes there's as many as 3 or 4 that are coming in and are starting the hobby, like wanting to get into it, and it's specifically they want to collect Space Marines.
Yes.
So like that's a big tell right there.
Yes.
And I just can't remember a time, and like you said, like for those that just started watching our channel, like we've been in retail like 20 years, almost 20 years.
Yeah. Between our GW time and this time.
And like Jay was actually around for like the Lord of the Rings boom. I wasn't.
Yeah.
So he kind of saw that a bit more, whereas I wasn't part of that.
Man.
So I in my brain, I'm like, I don't think I have a time when I remember that many people starting on a daily basis, basically coming into the shop and being like, I want to start. It's crazy. Like he said, I was trying to put my finger on like, what's changed in the last like month?
The Lord of the Rings thing is an interesting comparison. A couple things, like, well, for me, I was in a mall, a very busy mall.
Right.
And you were like, and the movies were out, and that starter box was like $60 or whatever, and it was very basic, like 2 small armies and a rule book. But you were throwing it at literally anybody. Yeah,
because you had like there's no doors, right? So you're just like literally throwing product at people in the mall hallway, and it just hits them, and they're like, "Oh, this looks Aragorn."
Good. Yeah, like I'm not even joking. Like people came in. And they would just, classic mall thing, right? Like just wandering. This doesn't really. I don't know if this even happens anymore in real life. Like maybe
malls are just
like malls,
clothes and cell phones.
Where you're like, it was very typical for people early 2000s. It was just like the whole family goes, and you just kind of wander around and kill the afternoon, and that's where you went to buy some clothes and shoes and whatever other nonsense. So often it was like someone's, 9 or 10-year-old kid ran into the store because it looks cool, and then the poor father, I'd just walk up to them and just be like, "Hey, check this out," or whatever. Yeah. And it was that easy, and they would look at it and be like, "Oh, this looks pretty cool," and they would just buy it. Like,
you hit them with the like, "Oh, it's great. It's not a video game."
Yeah,
they get to learn some things, and they're like, "Oh, that sounds great."
And they'd see other kids doing it and be like, "Oh, come back," and So anyway, that's a bit of a tangent, but it is like there's a certain feel of that kind of happening right now where it's a little different, like Chris mentioned, like everyone already, like you're going to have watched some videos, you're going to have like you're not walking and being the era of walking and being like, I have no idea what this is. Like that's only reserved for someone like a grandpa or someone who wanders in here who's just like a model car plane person. Maybe they have no idea what they're looking at when they walk in here. But anyone else, they've already consumed that content or they've played a video game. But the real special thing is, believe it or not, is when they come in and don't have the preconceived or the pre-loaded so and so. I have to buy these. I have to buy these things. It's actually much easier for us, and frankly, better for the customer when we get to tailor the product to what their needs are, and just give them the things they actually need rather than the gimmick products or whatever. So, it is nice to be like, what did someone get the other? I was like, I almost forgot how the Games Workshop has designed these products to go together very well. So it was they bought the middle tier starter box,
which is the best one.
Which I think just called the starter set for the 40K.
Those sets are on bonkers, yeah.
And he bought the the corresponding paint and tool set that they released to go with it. And the paint and tool set isn't new, but they make new ones every edition, so the colors in the box match what comes in the box.
Yeah, exactly.
Colors in that box match what goes in the starter box. And we brought it in, we opened it up to do a paint lesson, and I was like, oh, everything is here.
This is fantastic.
And it's perfect.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, I didn't have to go to the paint rack or be like, oh yeah, there's something in here that you need that's not in here or whatever. Yeah. And we just started.
It's like the people that made it tried it first.
Yes.
Before they were like, "This is a good idea."
I really did.
Because that's not always been the case.
I didn't read any intro. I just kind of like glanced at it. I was like, "Oh yeah, okay." I'm like, "Okay, you're gonna put on this McCrag blue, okay, and then you're gonna do these colors, and you're gonna do this wash." And the guy was so excited afterwards. He was like, "Well, the model looks awesome," and I was like, "Yeah." I'm like, they gave you everything you needed. So
it's kind of one of the problems with other companies' paint sets, and I don't blame them for this, but like. Unless you're really looking to build a paint collection right off the bat, they're not targeted at all, right?
No.
Which isn't their fault. It's just like when you're getting a generic profile of colors, it's really not that useful if you're collecting a certain army where you really want like more of a targeted amount of colors, right? So
I wish they offered Legion or chapter specific box sets like with colors in them. I know it would be a little bloaty to carry them all, but sometimes I would love to be able to be like, oh, you're playing Blood Angels, like you just grab one product and hand
would it really be that bad for like, just pick the top 6 or 8 Space Marine chapter? It probably would be fine, like
whatever. It could
I don't
be
think you're
Space
hurting
Marine
yourself too badly.
or top 10 40K armies, period. Like,
yeah.
I mean, if they made one for every, I'd probably stock at least one for every army. It sounds nuts, but I probably would. I'd love to have like, here's the Tau one, here's the Tyranid one, like most people paint the box scheme or want to because there's a reason for it.
A good chunk of people,
where it looks so cool, right?
Yeah.
Like they want it to match. Yeah. So, it would be pretty great. So, it's. I guess we gotta follow along and track this trend as like how long it's going to continue. Like, I mean, it's probably going to. So maybe we're just entering a new.
We might be entering a new golden era or whatever. But like, I think we kind of did this video a few weeks ago. You can go back and watch it. It's like, Space Marine 2 and like what we thought was going to be the impact and what we're seeing already. And I think undoubtedly that's been the biggest thing because, and it didn't really quite catch me mentally until like I had a customer yesterday and he kind of explained to me what happened. And I realized like the power of like a video game like that kind of breaks the mainstream and does really well is you have like, there's like these old gaming groups or hobby groups of a couple of friends or whatever that maybe have all fallen out of the hobby because of life. He's like us. He's got a couple kids or whatever, and all it took was like one of the friends playing Space Marine. So if one person out of like 4 or 5 friends plays it, they get super excited.
Yeah.
They start looking up Games Workshop, looking at models again, because they're all past hobbyists and they're all excited. And then what happens? That guy starts, just passing his excitement on to all his buddies. Yeah. And before you know it, you might have 5 new hobbyists again, right? And that's the power of I think of that excitement that's been generated from the video game. I think it kind of goes further than you think sometimes.
Yeah. And if we're talking demographics, like I've seen, you probably get the guy who used to be in the hobby. They're the ones coming and just buying like a box kit. And a few supplies, and they're just kind of like doing that, like that toe dip again. Yeah. But I am seeing the whatever you want to call it,
early to mid
20s guy coming in.
Definitely.
And they're buying like combat patrols and paint sets and paint glue primer. Like it's a bigger or whatever, a starter box or whatever. They're like that, and that's happening.
They're raw.
So
They're fresh,
they're more. Yeah. So sometimes this discussion comes up. I think different other industry people we know will have different takes on like. Depends on like again how long you've been in the hobby and what your experience is. Like there's a bit of a question about. I think you could ask this about lots of things. You're like, are kids or younger people entering the Games Workshop hobby still? Because there is a section or there's a valid opinion that maybe that's like not happening as much or at the rate that it used to.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's still happening, definitely. It's just different. It's like the days of like the kid wandering in and getting that like, ad hoc free paint demo.
Mm-hmm.
That's happening less maybe, but the teenager or early 20s person who's been playing the video games, watching the videos, like they're rolling in still and picking up.
I'm almost
custodes and marines and when it's still pretty 40K dominant. So there is still an influx of it's like I feel like it's shifted a little, but it's definitely there. Like it's not
Yeah, I definitely think if you just asked objectively, are less kids starting the hobby? I think you'd have to say yes, absolutely.
Yeah,
definitely yes. And I don't know if this is intentional from Games Workshop. I think it has to be because it's the result of an intentional decision to like retreat from spaces where you'd find kids, right?
Yeah.
So like moving out of the malls and all that sort of thing. You're going to like lower walk by traffic areas. All the Warhammer stores are more in like the outside kind of areas now and on the street fronts and stuff like that, right? So you're just going to get less people popping in and seeing it for the first time. But I think one of the knock-on effects, which I think is probably fair, like how many kids that got into the hobby were just like a little too young or like started and it's too hard and like they didn't stick with it, right? And ultimately like you've failed to recruit someone. Like I feel like even if this isn't intentional, starting somebody much later in life, like in their late teens, early 20s, that person's got all the mental acumen and dexterity built in where they could actually like accomplish the things they want to.
And they're old enough to get to the venues.
They're starting the hobby. I feel like Games Workshop has a better chance to keep that person long term.
Yeah. Maybe.
And the other thing you can add in too is they don't need the mall store to recruit anymore.
No.
They have like they're becoming like this brand company now, right?
Yeah, they've got the digital content. That's what's doing this like mass recruiting for them. Is all the video games. Yeah, look, I mean...
And the books. I can't believe how many people read the books first.
Yeah, I didn't even know that this is a thing. There's like... And this is how naive I am. There's like kid-centric or kid-appropriate 40K stuff that you can buy. And like graphic novels and all this nonsense. Yeah. No, I don't want to... Look, the kids thing is like, like if you could... Obviously, if you can get a 12-year-old hooked, like it's very powerful. Like they might be hooked for a long time. And it's a long game investment and it's very... powerful, but like you said, I think like we're one of the, I don't want to say one of the few, but we're a store that is literally on a street. Like you could walk up. There's residential and commercial. There's no industrial next to us. Like it's like a real neighborhood area, and it's not like you get some high school. There's a local high school, and you get some of those kids rolling in, but it's not like the mall was such a hub before. Like everyone would just go there every weekend, and it was concentrated. That's just not a thing anymore.
No.
And like even here at the store, like you would have to, parents aren't as likely to just like leave their kids here, like they would at the mall, because it was such a temporary thing. Like they just, I don't know, it's different. You have to kind of change your perspective on that. But so I'm not surprised that things have changed a little. But like you said, Games Workshop's done the calculation, I assume, and seems to be working or whatever. So
yeah, I mean, you've got so many avenues to catch a fish now, right? Like it's and it's only growing. Like if this Amazon series ever actually happens, God, I don't even like after this Space Marine 2 experience. I'm like, I don't even know what to expect. Like if the Amazon show is a hit and it.
Makes you wonder why even bother making a show. The video game probably costs much less. or will cost much less to make, and it's very strong.
It's possible, yeah. Well, yeah, I can imagine the budget would be crazy.
I just kind of
they should really stick to animated stuff, eh? I was thinking about that. You know,
yeah,
it would be like really not even the cheap, like high quality animated stuff is really good. You know,
live action I don't think does well in these.
Like Into the Spider-Verse is the perfect kind of like it shows you like what you can do, right? Like it's just fantastic.
Yeah, it lets you get away. Yeah. Well, the thing is, when you do it animated, you can make the things look much more authentic, actually, because they're already like cartoony, toy-like things. So making it, I don't know, overly realistic seems. I think most people wouldn't even want a full, crazy big budget Amazon. They just probably would want a regular 5 to 10 minute Dastartes thing at like every like few months. It was like all they really want. It's these little clips and episodes. I don't know. I probably. It's funny. The thing is, it'll probably come out, and I'll probably not care at all. Like
that is very Jay. To
maybe I'll watch a little bit of it, but I don't know. I don't know why. I remember when the whole thing started, and we did a video about it too. When like it was announced that Henry Cavill was working with it or whatever, like people were calling this. Relatives were telling, like, did you know?
Yeah, my mother-in-law who like knows not a thing about. Doesn't know a thing of, like, she knows, like, she's been to the shop, and she's, like, I think maybe, like, once or twice, and she, like, kind of has a general idea of what we do, but, like, I will say general, I'm being generous there, and
you're like, Mom, it's a toy store.
Basically,
I sell toys.
And, but they just kind of go, like, okay, all right, I guess you're married to my daughter, that's something, yeah. I remember her telling me at one of these like family events. So she's like, "Oh, I just think there's going to be I heard there's going to be a Warhammer TV show. That sounds like it's going to be really good for you." And I was sort of like, "Yeah, probably. Could be not. Who knows?
I almost
could
think
be anything.
I almost think they might as well not make the show. I think they've already gotten all of the.
You think so?
The usefulness or out of the announcement is always enough. Like just indefinitely.
I don't know. I part of me feels like GW is morphing into this, like I said, this brand company that like it's not even about create, like, obviously you want to create good things, but it doesn't even matter. Like the act of making things and having lots of things is enough.
Yeah.
So like for them, probably TV is just one of those things that they need to have, and they're probably like, whether the show's good or not, I think it's gonna like just be the beginning of something probably, because they're whether people like it or not. I know we have a lot of like people that watch for the what do you call it? The takes, but they're like, oh yeah, because we're doing like a critical of GW video sometimes, and they're like, oh yeah, baby, that's the good stuff, right? But like whether you like it or not, like you can't disagree that the brand is very strong. Like
so here's what they need to make. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Is they need to make kids shows, because kids shows get billions and jillions.
What is
of
this,
views.
Conservative television all of a sudden now?
Yeah. And so my thought process is like,
we gotta start them early, boys.
All of the Lego
He-Man toys.
All the Lego shows.
Yeah.
There's like Jurassic Park Lego show.
Spider-Man.
There's like Spider-Man Lego show.
Avengers.
There's like Lego City Lego show.
Yeah.
And the real charm of it as an adult is watching them use the like actual bricks.
Right.
And funny, they'll show. Or like in Lego Movie, they have they had the little details of the stupid little figure with the spaceman, and he's got like the broken visor thing, like, because it's straight out of your childhood. Like how could you not have these like little toy looking True-Born Marines like clunkily running around, and they're telling a dumb story. They're trying to go, and then there's some Necron guy who's basically Skeletor with a funny voice.
I mean, you just wrote it right there. Yeah,
you're not gonna stop me this time, or what? Like that would be brilliant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would be. It would be.
How are you
doing
this? Yeah. And then everything in the show is an asset from.
Of course.
That you can buy off the shelf, like terrain.
It's a toy show.
Yeah.
It's a show. It's a show for toys.
Yeah.
My brain went away to like they're literally using the models and doing voices.
Oh sure, like maybe it's like Green Army Men where they have to walk on the base.
Yeah, they're like that would actually be pretty funny. Right? Actually, like, a little stop-start animation. That would be funny. Yeah.
You can send me the check, GW.
We have tons of ideas. I don't know how we haven't, like, yeah. Oh, it's because I forgot. It's because we're nobody.
We are nobody. Except if you're an Old World listener, you really care what our tiny channel has to say.
We haven't burned in this video yet, so I mean that's.
I love when people I'm like, there's like 3-5. Who's watching me? Apparently, I reach 100% of the old world players in the entire world.
Yeah, and your words, your damning words, are causing a lot of harm to their community. So, I mean, don't make us do a second apology video. Okay?
Don't excite those people.
Yeah, they're like, oh, another apology. Let's go.
Oh man,
let's go. Oh,
the one old world guy can't wait for us. Not old world, underworld's guy can't wait for us to apologize for that one. That's coming up. Don't worry. Anyway, there we go. That got us to 20 minutes.
I'll never
apologize.
I think it's an interesting thing to like keep an eye on right now. If anyone's kind of at your local hobby shop, ask the person running the shop. Like, have you noticed like just like a surge of new people coming in? And just from who I'm talking to in our local area, it sounds like it's not just our store. It sounds like it's just happening right now. So it's pretty cool. It's nice to see. I mean, ultimately, whether you like Games Workshop or not, you're watching this video because you're into the general hobby, right? And anyone getting into the Games Workshop hobby is always a future potential customer for any of the games that you like. So I think it's just a good thing, and we should be excited.
Hey, maybe I'll get that cost of living adjustment this year.
No, I don't think so. It's not going that well. Our costs went up too, okay? Inflation. Hope you guys like these videos. Even though nobody's watching because it's past 20 minutes, we really appreciate you liking and subscribing. And if you can help us out and support us on Patreon, even better. We take a lot of these topics and get feedback from our Patreon subscribers. And that's what kind of makes the show cool and great. So until next time, take care.
Bye.